Everybody, for another edition of the 2-Minute Drill. I'm James Escarcega with the biggest UCLA Rams fan in the Valley.
Well, what a weekend, huh? UCLA Saturday night coming back in the fourth quarter.
Felt
James.
like I was in a dream.
1-0 in the Pac-12, ready to go.
I just felt like I was in a dream Friday night.
Yeah.
Saturday night. I was absolutely unbelievable. And we should also mention, Freddie, this happened Friday night. Our man Matt Fink at Glendora, USC football, leads him to victory. I don't know if my phone was just buzzing Friday night. I don't know about yours.
You could see that as soon as I sat down. I was at the Los Altos game, and thank you, Los Altos.
Yes, we got you. Helmet. Yes, Travis.
Travis Brown gave us. I was at the game. I sat down and I got the news that Fink went in and boom, touchdown, and it was kind of neat. Like I tweeted out, I'm not a USC fan, but I was really happy for Matt Fink that night.
What a great time to be in the city of Glendora.
Yeah, it just shows you he's a guy who stuck with it, didn't leave, could have left, and he's paying off. Now it's about memories. He's got that memory, and we'll see if he takes it from here.
Yeah, they got Washington on Saturday afternoon. We'll see what happens. But it's kind of fun to be living in the city of Glendora these days. They got themselves a pretty good football team, and you got now one of their very own leading USC. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And this is going to be a strange week. We'll talk about it right now because a lot of teams are on their bye week. You know, ever since they started that week 0 schedule, this is kind of what a lot of teams do, James. Is they'll play the week 0 and they'll play it straight through and they'll take that bye before they get into league. So this is the final for a lot of teams who didn't play week 0. They're playing some non-league games. It's kind of a mixed lineup that we have going this week. But let's talk about some of those games last week that were mighty impressive, and we'll get into this week in a second.
Generalities here, Freddie. Couple of questions.
Throw them at me.
Biggest winner of the preseason so far is
winner like of the
whole. The team that you
mean teams and what they've done up until this point. I think you've got to be impressed with LaSalle and what Ben Byes has done, being undefeated after the year they had last year.
Yes, sir.
I think you have to be excited over at Rio Hondo Prep.
Yeah,
they've outscored their opponents. I just looked like 161-8. I mean, they beat Arroyo 42-0. I mean, they're on an absolute roll. They're undefeated. You have to be impressed with Sierra Vista being undefeated at 4-0 right now. And then there's, Bonita, the way that they've come back, replacing JP Andrade, to be undefeated at this point. I think obviously there's Glendora. Los Altos, that win that they had over Northview last week.
Huge.
After they struggled in the non-league last year.
Yeah. That
was impressive. I think Monrovia at 4-1, a team that's had problems in the non-league games in previous years.
Yeah.
For them to really look like the league favorites right now, that's impressive.
Yeah.
So those are the teams that kind of right away stand out.
Okay.
Some disappointments? Biggest disappointments.
South Hills, obviously. And that was big when they lost Joaquin Elliott, their running back. But still, to be 2-3 right now is a little disappointing. I think. Not many.
It's hard because there's not. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Diamond Ranch is 2-3, but look at who they've played. I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. I think Charter Oak, you could say, is a little disappointing, but that's to be understood. They lost their quarterback. They lost their big time playmaker, so they're going to be down.
I think the biggest disappointment is the Rio Hondo League. I mean, every time we look for them to have a step-up win, they don't have one.
Yeah.
I mean, San Marino, we don't know what they're about. We really don't know what La Cañada's about because they got thrashed by South Amani, who got destroyed by Pasadena Poly 2 weeks ago.
But there's really, there's more to be impressed with than disappointed.
Yeah.
Two teams I forgot to mention. I don't know how I skipped them.
Yeah.
Mir and Pasadena.
Oh, my gosh.
I know Pasadena lost this past week. They had a 14-0 lead against CV, and they wound up losing that one.
Oof.
But, they're a contender in Division 11 if they get in the playoffs. And Mir is starting the Pacific League this week after going 3-1 in a really tough non-league. I forgot to mention La Mirada, another team. Jimmy, that's kind of stepped up, and they're 4-1. There's been a lot of impressive showings early on. Pasadena Poly, that's another one.
Yeah.
They lost a tough game this past week.
Because California
City, a team that's 4-1. I was just looking at that this morning. So, a lot to be happy with. But now we go into league where we start to settle out the truth for a lot of these teams.
That is true. I want to mention something real fast, Freddie. This is dovetailing on football a little bit, but at the same time, it kind of got. I'm surprised that this didn't get more traction, Freddie, but I just want to spend a minute to talk about it. So Friday, the basketball divisions came out. And you put out a very interesting tweet in saying that the divisions kind of, they kind of force players to transfer. Interesting.
Well, let's put this in a football context because we're talking about, this impacts all divisions.
No question.
And what I'm saying is when you do the equity divisions like they do them now, James, and especially for public schools, there are ceilings.
Yep.
We saw this with Charter Oak. They had a really good run. They mostly neighborhood kids. I know they get a guy here and a guy there.
From Pasadena.
But they went all the way into Division III, got to the semifinals. That was a ceiling for them.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to go into Division II and Division I.
Right.
They cannot reload unless you want them to cheat. They can't. So they get to a ceiling. They have to lose to come back.
Yeah.
You're going to see that happen with a team like Glendora this year, having a career year. They're in Division 5 right now. Watch them go into Division 4 or 3, and then there's a ceiling there. I mean, these teams can't keep continuing up into Division 1 and take on Mater Dei and St. John Bosco.
No.
Not unless they get a lot of transfers. So what I'm saying is, with this thing, when you're trying to build a good program, and my point was, public schools can't win consecutive championships 2-3 in a row,
right,
like the way we saw Charter Oak do it,
or South
Hills do it.
Yep.
Because when you win and you're trying to build a program, it puts you into a division, James, that sometimes you hit ceilings, and the only way to be good again is to lose to come back. You're going to see that with Upland this year. They went all the way to Division 1.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ceiling. They're not going to win a championship until they drop back down. And maybe they stay in Division 2 and they'll have a chance. But that's just the way it is. And the only way to keep going, if that's what you want to do, is to be like a Grace Brethren, to be like a Sierra Canyon, and go get guys to come play for you.
Right.
Go get transfers. And that's not what CIF wants to do, but they're putting teams in a position to say, hey, if you want to have a sustainable program and try to win year in and year out, the only way you could do that is to recruit, because you're going to keep going up divisions. That was my whole point. It's
I
kind of a
know
weird
they're
thing.
not in a public school, but I think St. Francis is in that same boat. They had a team of the decade 2 years ago. They made it to the finals, and then what's their reward? They get bumped up to a division which they had no business being in.
Now they're in Division 3, and maybe that is where they, a team like them stays. But if you keep winning, you go into that Division 1-2 pool, and then it's But for teams like St. Francis, James, I don't want to get this twisted, and Bishop Amat, even Damien to a certain extent, those are private schools who can, if they want to, hand out financial assistance. They could do whatever they want to do.
Right.
It's public schools that I'm talking about, where they get thrown into divisions that are just they can't compete at a certain level. It happened to La Mirada. Mike Machete built a really good program. They go all the way up to here. There's only so far you could go before you got to lose to come back to have a chance to win again. That's how the system is set up.
I think you said it the best. CIF, make sure that you're not gonna win multiple championships now.
You're not unless you're Mater Dei, or only the teams in Division 1 are going to win multiple championships.
I agree with you.
We're only rewarding the teams at the top, the teams that do get transfers, the teams that do get all the financial assistance. Those are the teams that we're going to reward with watching in December almost every single year, because that's as far up as you can go.
Okay.
So,
It was
just
a
the way it
fascinating. I thought it was a fascinating tweet you threw out there Friday, and I know it's
the truth.
It is the truth. It was fascinating. I'm surprised it didn't get more traction than it did. Maybe we'll see how it goes down the line. We want to remind everybody, by the way, that even though we'll be done with these videos in November and December, that doesn't mean we're done. We'll probably have our podcast going, which will talk about basketball and everything else. Because, Freddie, that day after Christmas with the Damien tournament, holy cow, dude, that's gonna be fantastic.
Let's get into football. We got a long way, James. You're getting well ahead of yourself.
I am, and I start getting to my passion here, which is basketball, so to speak. Action begins on Thursday night, and I think, Freddie, the game Thursday night between Burbank and Pasadena cannot be stressed. The importance of it cannot be stressed anymore. This is probably the game of the week. This is really, we're going to find out the authenticity check.
And Burbank just waxed Arcadia, so they're 1-0 right now. Pasadena, to get in the Division 11 playoffs, you've top 3 get you in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get a wild card because they've had a pretty good, an at-large.
But there's got to be room for them.
But you've got to start winning some of these big Pacific League games. I think they've got to finish 4th or better. and there's some slippage. You lose this week, James.
Oof.
You're 0-2 in the Pacific League, and you still got Muir to play, and you still have Burroughs to play, and then you never know what happens with Arcadia, who's going to be kind of a wild card.
I agree.
For a lot of teams.
I agree.
This is an absolute must-win for Pasadena after losing for Crescenta Valley. It's been an absolutely great start for the Bulldogs. We all know they're a lot better. The way they play Crescenta Valley, jumping out to a 14-0 lead, showed they're a lot better. They made some mistakes in that game.
Yep.
But this is a game on Thursday night that they absolutely have to bounce back from, and they've got to win if they have hopes of sneaking back in to Pacific League race, because you can, because I think there's teams that are going to beat each other.
Right.
But you just can't start 0-2. You absolutely can't start 0-2.
It is true, and I'm just looking at the max prep ratings for this game, and it's really, really close. I'm almost for certain that they would probably project a 3-point win either way for either team here. And there can't be moral victories with Pasadena, Freddie.
No.
These games count. I mean, it's not like a preseason game. These games are for real here.
Yeah.
So there has to be a sense of urgency here, because the next couple of weeks after they play Burbank, they have Arcadia and Burroughs.
Yeah.
So this is like a big 3-week stretch for them. They got to handle their business here, Freddie.
Yeah, and this is part of like when we get into divisions and trying to win divisions. There's two separate things. I mean, Pasadena is in Division 11, but they are in a league with teams that are upper division teams. So you've got to qualify out of your league to get in this, in a weaker pool of teams, for lack of a better words,
Right.
to have a shot at a CI championship. So if this is going to happen for a lot of teams who've looked really impressive, James, in the non-league, then it all starts over in league, and you've got to qualify to the league to make the playoffs. This is going to be the same thing for a team like LaSalle, who's got a game this week to try to go 5-0.
Yep.
Then they open against St. Paul next week in the Angeles League.
Yep.
So these are all, league is where we separate the truth from what these teams have done in non-league.
No question. So that's Thursday night. And I'll be at the game. Can't wait to see Pasadena again. Man, I thought they were going to pull it out.
I like Pasadena. I'm taking Pasadena to win Thursday night.
Too. Yeah, I think so too. I think they're ready to turn that corner and become that team.
Yeah.
And part of it too, folks. We were kind of wishing that the Turkey Tussle, the last game of the year, is going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Pasadena. Here's the advice.
Yeah, what's up?
Go out and drink your bottle of Get Tough and get serious.
Okay.
That's it.
I'll make sure that Sham knows
Let
that.
them know that did they ask them, did they drink their bottle of Get Tough? Because that's the true serum.
It's true. Friday night, and as Freddie has mentioned at the top of the video here, we're a little light on the schedule. Now that won't happen in 2 weeks, and we'll get to that next week. But a little light on the schedule, so let's talk about a few of the games. We'll again start from the Whittier area and come kind of work on up. Lacerna's at Warren, Freddie.
And to me, this is the best game on the schedule on
I
Friday.
think so too. You have two really dynamic
because
teams
Warren beat Lacerna last year in an absolute shutout. I think the game was in the 40s. It was a 2 or 3 point game.
Yeah.
So I think Lacerna's going to want a little bit of payback.
Yep. And
these next 2 weeks for Lacerna are the whole season before the playoffs, because they've got Warren. This is the chance. They want to stay unbeaten, and then they follow with El Rancho, who's looked spectacular in their last couple of games and just has one loss. So I think these next 2 weeks for Lacerna are going to, one, give it its chance to go undefeated, and two, are going to really decide the league title. I like Lacerna in the rematch against Warren.
Well, the balance with Lacerna is really striking. They're averaging almost 250 yards rushing and passing. It's almost impossible when you're a defensive coordinator.
I wonder what happens, though, James, when they get into a tight game. Will they need to be as balanced? I think when you're rolling over a team, you can kind of do what you want offensively when you're just better in all aspects of the game.
No question.
I think when push comes to shove and they get in battles, they're going to air it out with their quarterback.
No question. And they have a big win over Colony on their resume. And I think that's a big telltale sign here. Warren, by the way, has their transfer quarterback in from Arcadia.
Dylan Guerra.
Dylan Guerra.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, so it's going to be a pretty spicy matchup. By the way, Freddie, I was looking this up on Cal Preps yesterday. So you have the Paul Morris League and the Baseline and the Mission League, and as the top 3 leagues in the area. Number 4 is the Del Rio League.
Interesting. Yeah, with El Rancho playing better, with Whittier,
Cal High,
and you got Lacerna, but I still think Lacerna is the cream of the crop in that league.
Yep.
And it's going to be a wild battle for the second and third spots.
The Pasadena Star News game of the week is Cerritos Valley Christian at LaSalle. So Freddie LaSalle, probably the best story of the year.
Yeah.
4-0 with Ben Buys. We shouldn't be surprised. When you have Jackie Slater on your resume saying that you can coach, it says a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think they, let's break it down. Their opponents haven't been that great, James.
No question.
But there's not a lot of difference in this schedule this year and the one they played last year, and they struggled last year the whole year. So it's just sort of like Sierra Vista. You got to give Ben Buys a lot of credit for being undefeated right now, and not just beating these teams, but beating the drum out of these teams.
46-6, 55-15, 48-6. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're gonna need this, and then they're gonna need to feel good about themselves. And this is gonna be a game, Cerritos Valley Christian. I think they probably win that game too.
No question.
What are they like?
2-3 with a really bad rating on CalPrep.
Yeah,
really,
and I think this is the game that they're gonna play before they play St. Paul.
Yep.
Which is gonna be a major step up game for them. Major test for Coach Ben Buys. I don't think they're ready for a St. Paul right now. Although we don't know. That's the thing, is you don't know. They're winning these games so easy. You're going to find out. But it's obvious that when you look at Coach of the Years right now, if we would do like a midseason where you're at, Ben Buys would certainly be in that mix. He might be the leader in the clubhouse, along with maybe Rio Hondo Prep, what they've done
Mark
up to this point.
Can't forget what
Sierra Vista, they've done over there.
Sham has done over at Pasadena. I mean, he's turned that program around.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good choices.
There's a lot of candidates right now for our different area coaches of the year, and certainly they would be in that conversation.
One of the things about LaSalle is they were 0-10 last year. Their program was spiraling out of control. Things have changed now, obviously, with the hire of Ben Buys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys. I haven't seen them play, other than a few clips on YouTube and everything else. And but in talking with Ben, he's got the kids they've bought into everything that they've done, and they will be the prohibitive favorites.
It's the same thing like James. I know that we talked about with Sierra Vista. When you believe in a coach and you believe what they're saying, you're just. Football is the ultimate team sport, and when everybody's buying into something. And especially when you win and you win again and you start, the whole goes back to winning breeds winning.
Correct.
And that's what's happening at these two schools. I mean, it's remarkable. Like you said, they were 0-10 last year. Sierra Vista was 0-10 last year. Both teams get new head coaches. They're both 4-0. Remarkable.
The date you want to keep in mind, folks, is October the 25th. That's when LaSalle plays St. Genevieve. I think the winner of that game, Freddie, gets the second automatic player qualifier from the league into the playoffs.
Well, you're assuming that LaSalle wins the games after St. Paul, then, right?
Yeah, they'll be fine. I think they'll be okay. I'm just
sometimes you go right ahead to the final week before the season, before it's even played.
As reporters,
go when you see Ben Buys on Friday night. Tell him, hey, coach, when you win that final game, you're going to be playing for second place.
He'll tell me. He'll tell me. I thought you were a coach at one time. The Tribune game of the week is a fascinating game here. We got Bonita, coached by Steve Bogan, who used to call Covina District Field home. So he's coming home again to playing Covina over at Covina District Field. You'll be at the game.
Yeah. Not a lot of, in the Tribune area in particular this week, almost every one is on a bye. Anyone in our top 20 just about is on a bye.
Yep.
But you got Bonita playing. Bonita's going to play Covina. Covina come off that loss last week to Monrovia. They've had some tough losses right now. This looks like, a game where Bonita's probably gonna put him away early. That's kind of my guess. I bet Glendora coaches are probably going to be there because they have a bye this week, going into next week's mammoth showdown when it's going to be Glendora against Bonita. They should both be undefeated.
What is your first?
It's going to be at Bonita.
What is your first? Before you make a pick on this game, what is your first inclination on picking that game to?
Glendora.
Yeah,
Glendora.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I think physically, Glendora is going to be too much for him. Look, I watched Los Altos this past week, James.
What did you think?
And I know Los Altos and Glendora, that was a 20-13 game.
It was a really close game.
And I watched Los Altos manhandle Northview. Sometimes it comes down to size. Now, I thought Los Altos, they were able to match Northview in the skill department.
That's tough to do.
They have some guys who can defend those receivers.
You like that Rene Saldivar, don't you?
Yeah, I love Rene Saldivar. And not only him, what's his name? Zeke Rodriguez?
Yeah.
The other guy?
Zachariah.
Zachariah.
Yeah.
that guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's a returner, kick returner, wide receiver. But where they got him, they were able to get to James Jimenez and pressure him, make him get rid of the ball, and really push their offensive line back. And so I see sort of something similar when Bonita plays Glendora. I don't think they're going to be able to get the ball off. I think they're going to be physically a little bit too much for him. Okay. Again, that game's in a couple weeks.
2 weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but can Bonita make a game out of that? Sure they can, because you never count Bogan out in a game like this. You really
drive on that.
It's not like Glendora's Bishop Amat, or maybe they are. Maybe they are this year.
The ranking, the computer will tell you no. The computer will tell you no.
It's not like they're La Habra, right? But maybe they are. Who knows? I think there's going to be a lot to be said about Glendora before this year's through. Okay. I still think we're going to see more great things out of them. In that Palomares League, you're going to have to play great to win it.
So you're picking, I'm assuming, Bonita Friday night.
I got Bonita Friday night, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So do I. And we'll see what happens, so to speak. Those are the games you'll see on print. We only have one online game this week, Freddie. La Mirada's taking the trip to South Orange County to take on Yorba Linda. Yeah. With my buddy Jeff Bailey, who does a great job over here. Yeah,
Yorba Linda's 3-1, so this is another good test for La Mirada. 4-1. They beat South Hills handily last week. I think this would be a nice final win for Coach Machete to have going into the Suburban League, which I think you and I both expect them to probably win. I think so. Right?
Or be in the conversation with Mayfair for sure.
Yeah. So, I really like what La Mirada's done. They're one of the teams that, another one, we talk about coaching. It makes a major difference when players buy in, and Machete's obviously got them buying in. So, that's a good one. Other than that, you got St. Paul at home this week.
They're playing Los Alamitos.
Yeah, and they should win that game. They've played a monster schedule. They're
they hung tough
to Narbonne and Sierra Canyon. I don't know if any teams in our area were going to beat those guys anyway. So
it's true. And of course, you have St. Francis. They're playing Harvard Westlake at home this week.
That's a pretty decent game.
It's a decent game, so to speak. I think St. Francis should easily win.
Yeah.
But that
I think
is going to be interesting.
Muir's going to open with Glendale. That's going to be a route, and to open the Pacific League, they're going to get an easy one to get themselves going, and then it gets big for Muir the following week. Wow. It gets big for everybody next week.
Yeah, we call it Sensory Overload Friday next Friday. It will be because
me and James, we were looking at the schedule for a lot of these for league. It starts up next week, and it looks like, James, some years you get all these big games in week 10.
Yep.
We're getting them in week 1
6
of league right off the bat. I mean, you're talking about Northview and San Dimas, Bonita, Glendora, St. Paul, LaSalle,
El Rancho,
La Mirada, Lucerna, Damien at Upland.
Yep.
I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah, it's a big week next week. So if you need
El Monte and Rosemead.
Let me just say this about El Monte. I got a chance to watch them last Thursday.
Next week is going to be unreal.
They are really, really good.
Yeah.
They just...
I'll tell you what.
They run that double wing better than any team I've seen in years.
I'm going to really, that Division 12 is going to be fascinating.
Will be.
Because you've got Pasadena Poly and Rio Hondo Prep in that division. And when you look at the way Rio Hondo Prep beat Arroyo last week, 42-0, and what they've done. Now, granted, Arroyo had a lot of guys out, but still, 42-0, Rio Hondo Prep. You wonder, can them or Poly compete with? You've seen Pasadena Poly and Arroyo. Who wins that? I mean, El Monte and Poly. Who wins that game?
El Monte.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They just got too many horses up front, Freddie, and with that double wing, it's tough enough when you got to stop Devon Booth. They have the other Abel Cueva.
Oh yeah.
You get him going. It's just it's and here's the other thing too. And we should probably wait until we talk about their game against Aurora in a couple of weeks. But they go for 2 every time.
Yeah.
And they score every time because they could just literally it's 2 yards in a cloud of dust. So when you're on the other side, you're already behind like 2.5 scores before you know it.
Yeah.
And so you start pressing and
they
doing
did that.
things.
I covered a game that they had last year, and they did the same thing. It was
it's
pretty remarkable.
Yeah, what they do is this is their year. I think they're even money to win it. You want to cover that Pasadena Poly Rio Hondo Prep game?
In the final week of the season, that's going to be a game.
Yeah, and you know why, folks? Because that game starts at 2:30. You see what I'm saying?
2:30.
Yeah, he likes those 2:30
And I
starts.
figure by that time it's not going to be 100 degrees. It'll be probably a nice overcast. Maybe we get a little sprinkle in the air and go there with my hot chocolate and watch an afternoon game.
What a guy, you know. And then I'll probably get Cathedral and St. Francis tonight. What a guy!
Wow, what a game that'll be to end the year.
That'll be great.
Is it at St. Francis?
Yes, sir.
Well, then you're in business.
Yes, sir. You know, they actually set me up with a table there.
How about Bishop Amat? We haven't talked about them at all.
I have a take here about Bishop Amat. They may not be playing this week, but the Servite Notre Dame game is huge for these guys because if Notre Dame wins, you can virtually assure yourself that whoever wins the Mission League will get one of those 8 spots.
Yeah,
in the open division.
I was looking at that, and I absolutely agree with you that the winner of the Mission League is going to be in the top 8. They almost have to. When you look at the divisional rankings, James, I would bet you that it's number 2 or 3, the Mission League still.
Oh yeah, they're number 2 behind the Trinity League. There's no question.
Will they get 2 teams?
I don't think so because you have to deal with Calabasas, Sierra Canyon. It depends how many teams you want to take from the Trinity League. First off, because
Trinity League's going to get 3.
Right.
Trinity League's going to get 3, and then Corona Centennial is going to take number 4. So say you take one from the Mission 5.
Okay, so here are the 8 teams that Cal Preps has right now. Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Centennial, J. Sarah.
Okay, stop right there.
Okay.
Those 4 are going to be in.
Now, the 5th team is Mission Viejo.
They're going to win their league and get in. That's
Grace
5.
Brethren is 6.
They're going to win the Camino Real and get in. There's your 6.
Then there's Servite, Sarah, Norco, and Corona Del Mar.
So basically, yeah, there's probably just going to be one team out of the Mission that gets in.
So.
And look, Bishop Amat has as good a chance of winning that than anyone in there. But
we've always said that.
But there's also, they could lose 3 times.
Yeah.
You know, Notre Dame, Alamany, Sarah, they're all capable of beating them.
Okay.
But Amat's capable. This is going to be the best Mission League. I think most competitive Mission League. I think 4 or 5 teams than we've seen in a while.
And no question, because you got Alamany.
And they open with Alamany next week.
And Alamany's in Division 3, so that's they're virtually in.
The good news for Bishop Amat is Damian Moore looks like he's healthy. He had a big game last week over Cathedral. Dyson McCutcheon is playing well. Their defense is, as Bishop Amat always does, it's starting to improve little by little. But if they can keep churning out points like that, and I know it's going to get harder now that they go into the Mission League, but the Mission League is not the Trinity League.
Yeah.
They can play with these guys. And it's going to be, week by week. It's going to be fun to watch because I think you're going to have a lot of close games, fourth quarter games.
I should err here. Grace Brethren's in Division 3, so we can eliminate them.
Knock them out.
You knock them out. Now you're looking at Calabasas and Sherman Oaks, Notre Dame, and so that's why I think if Notre Dame wins Friday against Servite, and it's a home game at Notre Dame, that just tells you right away that whoever wins the Mission League, whether it's these guys or Notre Dame or Alamany, wow,
yeah,
it's going to be it's fascinating. And remember, these guys are already in the playoffs. So all these helmets here, these are the only guys that are virtually assured a playoff spot.
They were in the playoffs in August. They were in the playoffs back in July when they came out with the pairings, or when they came out with the divisions. Yeah.
We were talking about that transfer issue. I forgot to mention one thing real fast, Freddie, which is next year they're going to factor in that record that you have during the year, and they're going to put that in with your record from last season, and that's how they're going to determine the.
That's not set
playoffs.
in stone yet. I think what they're going to do at the end of this season
is test it out.
They're going to just show you where teams would be if they use that system,
right?
And I think they're going to have a discussion about it and decide, is this something that we should do for next year?
Which I think they should.
I don't like it at all. I really don't.
Why not?
Because then, okay, let's take Glendora for example.
Please do.
Okay, so Glendora's in Division 5.
Correct.
They're number 1. They've got, I would call a generational team.
Okay.
Let's say you took this year's record and that bumped them up to Division 4.
Okay.
Or maybe even 3.
Okay.
Is that right to do that to Glendora?
Good point.
Let's say Bishop Amat. Let's say they go ahead and they lose 2 games or 3 games in the league and they finish 6-4.
Okay.
Using this formula that you're saying, James, that could actually drop them to Division 3.
Yeah.
You're talking about, let's say Bishop Amat finished 4th in the Mission League. They finished behind those top 3. They're the odd man out, and they go 6-4, and they have a horrible year by Amat standards.
Yeah.
Are you telling me, based on what they did this year, you're going to say, okay, let's reward them and put them in Division 3 and let Amat go win their 6th championship? It's stupid. I don't like it. I mean, that's just my
throwing it
opinion
out
on
there.
it.
Just
Yeah.
throwing it out there. This is what happens, folks, when we have a bye week. We start throwing issues out there, so to speak, and all that kind of stuff. We got the one-stop shop on Friday night, which will be very, very short this week, Freddie, because we don't have the mini games that we're going to cover, but we'll have the Saturday morning quarterback, which I can tell you what we're going to do for the Saturday morning quarterback is we're going to preview the leagues. We're going to give our league predictions out. I'm able to we got some data in now, Freddie, so we can figure out what we're going to do. We'll talk about some of the games on Friday night. We hope this spurs the conversation on Twitter, and we will look forward to seeing you next Friday, and we'll be right back here next Friday night. And by then, you're
3-0 Rams. Go ahead.
and your UCLA Bruins are playing Arizona.
Yeah, another win.
You know what time they're playing, though, right?
No,
7:30.
I love those games.
Pac-12 after dark.
Yeah.
Have a great week, everybody.